Good day to you and welcome to 2019-2020 fiscal year security awareness training. Let's start our discussion today by talking about ransomware, as more than 70 state and local governments across the United States have suffered ransomware attacks in 2019, and the cost has been millions upon millions of dollars in damages. Here's a great story from our friends at NBC News.
Tonight, it's a huge headache to complete a home sale in Baltimore. The city's computer system that looks for property liens or debts to check for a clear title is locked up. As buyers and sellers wait, the city searches paper files by hand.
I've been here since 6:45 in the morning.
I think that they're trying their best to get as many of our documents processed.
Baltimore was hit 2 weeks ago by ransomware, freezing thousands of city computers. Hackers demanded 13 bitcoins, worth about $100,000, for the code to unlock the system. A similar attack tied Atlanta in knots last year and cost millions to recover. Greenville, North Carolina, a city of 90,000, was hit just last month. So far this year, analysts say 25 local governments have been victimized. The president of Baltimore City Council, Brandon Scott, says his city will not pay the ransom.
When you talk to technology people and others, that people who pay ransoms, they can leave something in the system and come back and shut you down again. And I just have to take the advice of the law enforcement and the professionals.
Cybersecurity experts say the spread of these attacks is a warning that cities large and small must be better prepared.
Cash-strapped municipalities are uniquely vulnerable to this kind of ransomware attack because they're using older systems, they don't keep them updated, and they don't have the resources to be able to respond.
But with ransomware attacks spreading, cities are finding that a strong defense is no longer a luxury.
Ransomware can work in two ways. One way encrypts our files. The second locks the user out of their system completely. In either case, the attackers demand a ransom. And if it's not paid, they threaten to delete files, release sensitive information online, or even expose the location of the victim. Unfortunately, victims end up paying the ransom, and even then, many times the attackers ask for more. Paying a ransom does not guarantee that you're going to get your files or your computer back. There are a number of different vulnerabilities that expose organizations to ransomware. Most incidents involve an unsuspected individual clicking on a tainted link or an email attachment or downloading software. Systems with outdated security patches and anti-malware software are often more easily compromised to help spread ransomware. Endpoints with Windows operating systems have been the main target in the past, but this is rapidly changing to include smartphones, tablets, Macs, and Linux systems, and more recently popular cloud applications, essentially meaning that no computing platform is safe. FBI and security experts advise not to pay the ransom and recommend instead focusing on prevention and recovery plans instead. In the event of a successful ransomware intrusion, the only way to recover successfully is by regularly backing up your critical data. This particular graphic has been brought to you by our friends at Druva Cloud Security. Here is a very important thing to remember from our time today. If we're using a computer and that computer gets infected with malware or ransomware as a result of something that we did, that malware or ransomware runs on our computer with the same rights and privileges that we have. That is, the ransomware or the malware always has access to the same files and the same information on the network that we do. Here's an example. Here's Susie, who just got infected, and she's really not very happy about it. Susie has access to a shared drive with department files on it. And because she has access to that drive and those files, so does the ransomware, so those files are gone too. Fortunately, these files are backed up on a daily basis, so they can be restored relatively quickly and the department can be back in business pretty quickly. That's a floppy disk, by the way, for those of you who haven't seen one. If you're backing up your files at home to a portable drive or some other medium, please make sure that you unplug your drive when you're done backing up, or otherwise take that drive offline. That's because if you accidentally get infected with ransomware, there's a good chance that that ransomware will also encrypt your backup, and you'll have nothing left to restore. So the restoration can take place, but here's the problem. Susie also shares a network with other coworkers who need to get their jobs done too. If Susie is set up so she can easily log into any computer within her department and install or do anything she wants, guess what? So does the ransomware. And when that happens, you end up with a lot of very unhappy coworkers. But what if Susie's access is limited and only granted to other computers as necessary? Then the ransomware can't spread as easily, and you end up with a much happier department. This is why we've been working hard with departments to make sure that their day-to-day accounts that they use for general internet and email access, which are considered activities that have a higher risk to be infected with ransomware, that those accounts are not used for administrative access across their entire department. Instead, special elevated accounts are used for that purpose. That way, if their day-to-day accounts get infected, there's a smaller chance that the infection can automatically spread and take down an entire department, much in the way it did in Baltimore and Atlanta. As you may know, we've done a lot of hacking demos in the past as part of our security awareness training. This year I was asked to provide a review of those demos and provide links to them for those who are newer to our organization. So let's start with 2014, where we had the fly phishing hack that cost millions. In this particular demonstration, we performed reconnaissance against an individual using their social media posts in order to find out as much information about them as we could so that we could create a super special phishing email that would be really hard for them to resist. We sent them the email, we got them to click on it, we took advantage of a vulnerable piece of software on their computer that gave us remote access to it. From there, we used this person's account to get access to a juicy HR computer where we were able to spy on the HR director and see what they had access to. We saw that they had some really valuable PERS and health insurance information, user social security numbers, stuff that we stole, we exfiltrated from that computer and sold it on the internet. In 2015, in Cyber Wars, we performed the exact same attack on two of our friends by sending them a file called Death Star Vulnerabilities. Darth Vader was one of them, and he's a guy who's bent on convenience and did his day-to-day computing with an account as an administrator on his PC and an account with access to everything on the Death Star, so he didn't have to elevate his privileges when accessing super secret stuff. When he opened the file, we not only got full access to his computer, we got access to everything on the Death Star and could do anything we wanted, including steal passwords. Yoda, on the other hand, was wiser and did his day-to-day computing as a regular user, knowing that that prevented an attacker from automatically getting access to everything. When he needed access to super secret stuff, he elevated his privileges. When he opened the file, even though we got access to his computer, our efforts to elevate our privileges failed, so we didn't get access to the plans for the rebel attack. In 2016, in Help My Fridge Has Been Held for Ransom, we focused on getting access using physical means, dropping USB keys in the parking lot, or CD-ROMs with reorg plan on them, in order to prey on people's curiosity and get them to insert them in their PCs to give us remote access. We even attempted to socially engineer the front desk by showing up and saying, "Can you help me? I spilled coffee all over my resume. I have an interview in 10 minutes and I need to print out a fresh copy. It's here on my USB key." We used a special USB key that faked out Windows into believing it was a USB keyboard, and after inserting it, it began typing all the commands we needed to give us the access we wanted. We emphasized that when an attacker gets access to our account, they have access to everything we have access to, including our payroll information and all the protected and even personal information we have access to as well. In 2017, the password that destroys everything, we demonstrated that one bad password could harm an entire organization. We used the easy availability of the web pages in Office 365 to do password spraying, where we try one password against every account we could find, and then another password, and then another until we get access to at least one account. Once we had that account, then we could gather all of the accounts from the Outlook address book and perform the same password spraying against all the accounts in the organization so we could compromise as many accounts as we can. Even though all we had access to was an Office 365 accounts, we were then able to use the online version of Outlook to create a special Outlook rule that ran our program on one of our victims' computers in order to give us remote access to that computer. From there, we moved laterally within the network from computer to computer until we gained access to the entire network, all because of one bad password. In 2018, the wrong turn, we went through the steps that the attackers performed in a credential theft phishing attack that we experienced back in March of that year. They compromised a single account and then used it to send phishing emails out to everyone in order to compromise even more credentials. When a user surrendered their credentials to the bad guy set up Outlook rules in order to send all new email to a location in Outlook that only they paid attention to. And if anyone replied to the email asking if it was legitimate, the reply came from the attacker, encouraging them that it was so. We also discussed Office macros and how an attacker can embed their code in these macros to give them remote access to your computer, and how important it is not to enable these unless you are absolutely sure they are legitimate. We use this remote access to get access to our victim's payroll account, where we change their direct deposit account so that their next paycheck would come to us instead. Finally, we discussed whether or not we should automatically trust files that we download from the internet, and how ransomware can easily take our computer hostage if we don't verify before we click, enable, or download. All of these presentations are available online at this web address. In case you haven't seen one, you want to watch a particular hacking demo, or you want to share them with your friends. This year, we aren't doing a demonstration. Instead, we're going to watch others do it. We're going to focus on what's called vishing, which is a term which implies phishing using phone calls, something we are seeing a big increase in. But first, before we go any further, here's one of the best definitions of a phishing attack. Speaking of phishing attacks, we performed a few phishing tests since we last met, and this one in particular was nasty. It was released right around W2 time. Now understand, we don't make that decision ourselves. The department's information security officers were also the deciders in this situation. Do not feel bad if you fell for this one. It was intentionally hard. It was to remind us that anytime anyone ever asks us to enter or give out our credentials, or anything else important for that matter, that we simply verify it first. If you picked up the telephone and called the sender by looking them up in the address book, you would have reached our security operations center and they would have told you, good job, way to check outside of using email, way to check out of band as they call it. If you replied to the email, however, I got to play the bad guy in control of the account and reply back and tell you, yeah, it's really okay for you to click on that link. You can see why it's really important then to contact a sender through a different means to verify what's really going on. Here's another example of one that we've done recently. In this particular situation, I spent $10 and bought a fake domain and created a fake web page that we were used as part of this particular test. Okay, back to our subject, vishing. According to Government Tech Magazine, vishing is on the rise. In this first video, we will see it in action. Socially engineering someone to do something that they would not normally do. And it usually involves emotion or a hurried state of fear. This video is from the awesome folks at social-engineer.org.
So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas for DEF CON, the biggest hacker convention of the year. They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and
Okay.
see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com?
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yeah.
Emotion, empathy, feeling pressured, feeling rushed, all things that make people feel like they need to help and comply with their request. This next video is the most important one you'll see. This is from Jen Fox, who is a professional social engineer, and this particular presentation was done at a SANS Security Awareness Summit, and it really hits home. Listen very carefully.
If there is one thing that you really remember and take away from my presentation today, it's this next call that I want you to pay attention to.
This is Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. This is Julie from... How are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. We usually push patches for vulnerabilities, but we had a couple issues, and I need to see if the last patch took. I just need a couple minutes of your time to check something for me.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Okay. Are you still on Windows 7? You would know because the logo is like a blue circle, like the start button is a blue circle with a... Okay.
Yep.
All right. So if you can click on that start button,
okay,
and then click on Control Panel.
Okay.
Then in the Control Panel window, do you see something called Administrative Tools?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see something that says View Event Logs?
Oh, yeah. It helped, yeah. All right. Yes. Well, I see Event Viewer.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
So the Event Viewer window came up?
Yep. Okay. Event Viewer.
All right. Perfect. In the left column, there should be something that says Windows Logs.
Yep.
You click that one.
Okay.
And then click System.
Okay.
And then it's probably going to think for a minute.
Yeah.
When it finishes, do you see the level label at the top of the first column?
Yep, I think it just finished. Yep.
Oh, okay. So if you can click that level label at the top of the first column, it'll take a second for that to sort. And then when it does that,
okay,
if you can scroll to the top and tell me what you see.
It says, well, at the very top it says critical 82616, and then it's got a bunch of things that say error and then warning.
Oh, okay. See, that's what I was That's what I was afraid of. That's why I'm doing these calls. So that means that the patch didn't work. And so I need to do a special installation. So I'll need your logon and password so I can fix that from here. And then when I'm done, I'll send you a password reset.
Okay. Okay. You don't just want to remote into my computer?
No, it's better if I do it this other way.
I'm kind of confused because everybody always tells me never to give my password to anybody, but I know you're IT, so I'm not sure what I should do.
Well, I mean, I'll send you a password reset when it's done, so it should be no big deal.
Fine. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
It's A1.
Okay. All right.
I'm still nervous. Like, can you just reset my password and do it that way from the beginning?
No, I need to reset your password after, so then it's not. Yeah, so then it's like a new one that only you will know. That's why I said I'd send the password reset afterwards.
Okay. Can I just be kind of annoying and just ask what your last name is?
Oh, sure. My last name is Julie Banks, Banks, and I just started with which is why I get to do the calling 75 people on my list.
I'm sorry, because you don't. I know I'm being ridiculous, but you don't actually come up in anything, so I'm really not comfortable giving you my password.
All right. Well, that's understandable. I get that. So, all right. Well, I can. Oh, go ahead.
I can call you back if that's okay. Just let me ask.
Or I can actually just put you on a list, and when we'll come walk around and do that. So I can put you on a list for follow up. It's not a problem.
Okay. Well, just let me. Can I call you back in the morning?
Sure.
Okay. What number should I call you back at?
You can just call the main service number. Just call our number, the 296.
Okay. All right. I'll do that in the morning then. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thanks a lot, Amanda.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Round of applause for Amanda. Yeah. So this is a very similar call to a lot of the fake Microsoft calls. And you're walking somebody through something that seems complicated, and now they're complying. And so that kind of sets up the interaction. But she knew, she did all the right things. Like, hey, why aren't you following the process I'm used to? Don't you remote in? That's what IT usually does. Hey, I don't think I'm supposed to share my password with you. This is a little weird. Can I have your last name so I can look you up in the directory? Great. And can I have your phone number so I can call you back? That's a killer on social engineering calls, because I spoof the number that shows up. Nobody can call me back. I don't have a number anyone can call me back at. So that's usually terrible for me. So she did all the right things, but could everybody hear how hard that was? How many times did she apologize? And she was doing all the things that she should do. And it was really hard. She identified that something wasn't right, and she was the one. She shouldn't be the one questioning what she's doing. She was doing all the right things.
As Jen says, the culture of the workplace often puts us in a position where we feel like we need to solve a problem or do something for someone on the other end of the phone. And it puts us in that mode where we may more easily fall for something like this. That's why we tell people, really, if you have any suspicion at all, it's okay to say no. Even just saying and memorizing this phrase, "I'm sorry, I'm unable to disclose that information. How else may I help you today?" But most importantly, and this is directed towards those who are in management, make sure that your employees feel comfortable questioning something that comes from you in an email. We've had situations where high-level government officials have had their email addresses either spoofed or it appears to be coming from them even when they're on vacation. And it goes to the employees and it tells the employees that I need something quickly done. And it's unusual. And so in one particular case, they actually had to call this high-level government official while they were on vacation. But those employees knew that it was safe to do so. Make sure you empower your employees to feel comfortable questioning anything that comes from you that's unusual, and that they're able to call or contact you through a different medium other than the one that they were sent, in case your email account was compromised in some way, shape, or form. That's really, really important. Additionally, to review things, it is very, very easy for an attacker to make an exact copy of a legitimate web page. This particular web page here looks like the Office 365 login portal on the internet. But there's one difference. Notice the URL is not Microsoft. Whenever you're sent a link or anything that requests you to go somewhere to log in, our advice is always to use the link that you have bookmarked. In other words, the normal procedure that you would use to log in rather than relying on the link. I get stuff from my bank all the time saying your balance is available and you can check it, and they send me a link. I don't use the link that they send me. I go to my bank manually using the shortcut or the favorite that I have. Additionally, anytime you receive a document that comes via email, a lot of times attackers will embed code or program inside of it that they expect to be able to run on your computer to give them remote access to it. And they do that by, first of all, asking you to enable editing, which is kind of normal because if you wanted to edit a document that was sent to you and it was in protected view and you wanted to make some changes, you would expect to be able to save it to your computer and enable editing. But here's the problem. A lot of times right after that it'll say macros have been disabled. You need to enable content in order to see this message. And it's funny because you'll get these kinds of messages like this document was created in an online version of Microsoft Word and therefore it won't work unless you enable content. Or even funnier, this document has been blurred for your safety. So basically they ask you to enable content. When you enable content, you enable those macros or that code to run on your computer. Never do that unless you're absolutely 100% sure that the document you're receiving is legitimate and it's been verified in some way, shape, or form. Additionally, anything you download off the internet could be easily packed with some ransomware or some other piece of malware that could do a lot of damage to your computer or to your business. So it's very important that you always download from legitimate sites, and anything that is not common legitimate, like something from Microsoft, you want to make sure that you have that verified before you install it on your computer system. And of course, you do not have to go about this alone. You don't have to go about any of this alone. We are always here to help. You can email security or call 1400. You can forward anything to us. If you want us to check out a piece of software before it's installed, we can do that as well. We can also double check links for you. As you receive these kinds of email messages or these kinds of phishing attacks, and you discover that they're not legitimate, talk to each other about it. Share what happened so that everybody can learn and avoid falling for the same thing. But also celebrate those successes. Hey, we beat the bad guys this time. Really, really important thing to do. Every year we need to talk about passwords, passphrases, and password management. But before we start, here's an oldie but a goodie. So as we've learned, passphrases are great. They make it really easy to create a nice long password, and at the same time, they're much harder to crack. Now, in this particular case, this list you see here is a list of some common English phrases. The problem with this list is these phrases are easily obtainable. As a matter of fact, when we do password testing within our organization, we download large lists of these common phrases, and we try these common phrases against those passwords in order to determine when someone is using a very simple and easy to guess phrase. And so what we encourage is that you change your passphrase, if it is a common phrase, and you add some entropy to it. You personalize it in some way. So instead of a dog is a man's best friend, you might put the name of your dog there. Or never lift a GIF and put the name of your cat in there, in the mouth. Something that changes it in some way, shape, or form to personalize it for you, so that when we run the common passphrase list against those accounts, we won't be able to crack your password. So this concept was being discussed by a guy named Jason McNew from Stronghold Security, and he mentioned this concept to his wife and kid. And they sat down afterwards, his wife and kid, and put together what they thought was a great list of passphrases. And yes, this is really a great list of passphrases. Something you're not going to find in common phrase dictionaries, and at the same time, somewhat easy to remember and also humorous, such as always heat 1 pencil a day. But even easier than that, useapassphrase.com is a great website for generating forward passphrases with spaces. And then you can have something that has entropy and at the same time is going to be different from something you use somewhere else. Which brings us to a very important thing, and that is we obviously don't want to be using the same passphrases everywhere. We want them to be different, and the only way really to effectively manage that is by using password managers. Password managers allow us to use one passphrase to get access to all of our passphrases. In this case, these password managers will store all our passphrases for us. These password managers will automatically generate passphrases for us if we need them. They will automatically log into websites as we need them. They provide a great centralized management of all of your different passphrases so that you can assure that you're not reusing the same passphrases all over the place. These two password managers here, 1Password and LastPass, are just examples. They're two of the more popular ones, but there are quite a few out there. Finally, last but not least, there is multi-factor authentication, which we're always encouraging people to use as much as possible. Here's an example of multi-factor authentication. I log into my bank's website. I put my username and my password. The password is something that I know. It's one thing. Then the bank prompts me to provide them a code from the application on my smartphone. I punch up that application, I put that code in from the smartphone, and it acknowledges that I am who I say I am because I know my password and I have my phone. So the three different factors that are available to us are something that we know, like our password, something that we have, like our phone, and something that we are, like a fingerprint or a retina scan or something like that, something biological. Multi-factor authentication is available basically for free everywhere. Facebook has it, Twitter has it, Google has it. It does not mean that you have to do that process every time you check your Twitter feed. But what it does mean is that if someone compromises your password for it and they try to set up your account on a new device, it will prompt for the two-factor authentication, and unless they have your phone, they will not be able to set that up on their device. So it's being rolled out in our organization so that if anyone accidentally surrenders their credentials to a bad guy, the bad guy is unable to log in from a remote location without having access to that other factor of authentication. Set this up, go out on the internet to all the sites that you use that offer it, especially the important things like your banks. It's free and it's one of the best investments of time that you'll ever do.